Microphone. I was muted. So, yeah, I'm still learning. I'm still learning. And welcome back to this chill live. I hope the audio is okay. I can see there is some viewers, so if you can confirm, as usual, in the chat if everything is okay. I see the audio going pretty good in the bar, so it should be. It should be. Uh, how is your weekend? Was your weekend, and how is your week so far? I hope everything is okay. And today, what I want to do is to have a sort of I called on Facebook portfolio review, but it's pretty much like a friendly discussion between me and you and whoever wants to submit. Hello, hey Anna, and whoever wants to submit his works. I have a couple of artworks from two different uh, persons, and I will go through them. I will just wait maybe to gather a little bit more people before starting to go straight to the point of the live. So I will start drawing and chatting with you if you want to have want to do me the pleasure to answer if I can, or just chilling together. Also, because after 8 hours of works, it's not easy to be fresh as a rose, but I will try to do my best. And I really hope that you will like this new format. I also invested a bit of time and resources in the graphic. You can see now is all woohoo. It's a bit psychedelic and nostalgia and chill wave because I really love 80s. I was born in 1985, so everything is fluo, neon, violet and purple, and basically 80s. I'm totally in for it. The live will be in English, but if you are Italian and you want to do some question in Italian because you are not so sure about your English, don't mind. Feel free to put the question in Italian, and I will reply and make the translation as well for the rest of us. I will say I can start just warming up before going into the portfolios and artworks review. And I will share the page of this artist, and maybe if the artist also wants to put their link for social, feel free. It's a pleasure to host beautiful people and beautiful artists in my channel. So, what about me in these days? I'm literally in love for The Last of Us Part 2, which brings me to a sort of unstoppable wheel of drawing post-apocalypse sets. it's been it's been like I always loved The Last of Us from the first release of the first part. I loved the game, the atmosphere, because I loved the zombie movies and in general the post-apocalyptic kind of setting. So I always been there on the first hour to play the game, and now that I'm playing the second, whoo, let me say, they did a great job. If you don't ever play the game so far, please buy a PlayStation 3, or even if you buy the 4, you can have the first one remastered and the second one. If you don't have the possibility to buy a PlayStation, I think you can go on YouTube and check the videos as well, because I think there is some gameplay there. But please do a favor to yourself as an artist, as a interested people in art. Even if it's not your genre, the narrative quality and the experience in that game, it's unbelievable. So after this advertisement, which I'm not paid for, I will just spend a couple of minutes sketching here and there, and then I will do what I promise. So I will do in minutes. I will start with a review on the pieces. But first, as I said, if you have questions, if you have anything coming in your mind, and I know I didn't noticed properly. This kind of live was just an experiment for the new graphic, for the new ideas that I have. So more than an actual start. As you can see in my past live and in the channel history, but also on YouTube, I started doing interviews on artists with a focus on animation because it's my field from several years. So I have a focus on animation in terms of people on talking on my channel. But I will just say, not revealing nothing, but I will just say that I have in mind to cross the market, cross the animation, cross the video games. If you've seen my last live, Salvatore is one of my best friends, but it's also in the video games field, senior character artist at Toadman Interactive. So yeah, I will try to have a sort of variety, maybe a bit more, as from what I'm doing at the moment. But yeah, as I said, my main focus it's pretty much animation, and of course I can reply if I can. I try to reply on every kind of question if you want, and this channel is basically on the go. I don't have the time to program much, to make a schedule, so I always try to be as I am in reality. So I will try to be spontaneous, and also if you want, via social, even here in chat, and do me suggestion for format or something you want to see from me or from other artists. Again, feel free to make the request, even if it's not a request, but the suggestion, and I will try to see what I can do, basically. And as I was saying, the beginning of the live, I'm just doodling around some The Last of Us Part 2 vibe sketch, which is one of my main focus these days that I'm playing the game. Still not finished yet. And as I said also before, I think they did a great job, and everyone should enjoy it. And also, as artists, if you are willing to become a better artist, you definitely should go check the work the guys on Naughty Dog did. Not only with The Last of Us, but even with Jack and Dexter for PS2 and PS3, and Uncharted, which is one of my favorite game of all the time. And one of the reasons is because, as I said, I am born in 1985, and that period was the period basically of Indiana Jones, and the period of the Goonies, the period of it was the Spielberg era, basically, and the kind of adventure atmosphere that I like the most. So one of the reason I like so much Uncharted is because it's purely adventure. It's not like an elaborate or an intricate story as The Last of Us Part 2 and Part 1 is, but it's more like a entertainment kind of product. Uh, it's easy to understand, it's easy to enjoy because the gameplay and the dynamics are really fast, really um, friendly, I will say. So that's one of the reasons why I like the saga of Uncharted. And plus, I mean that from a video gamer, from a gamer point of view, you cannot fall in love with the Naughty Dog works because they are so well done and so well um, thinked that it's pretty much impossible for, on my opinion, to don't enjoy them. Um, okay, I think I will just make a little bit of cleanup on this one, then pause and go with the first person. Hey, Federica, hello. And after I polish a bit this one, I will pause it and I will go straight to the first person who submitted um, the portfolios. And as I said from the beginning, if you want, there is still time. I mean, it's not an official portfolio review. What I will say um, will be really for the sake of the discussion, and what I say, it's not law, it's not the truth, so you can agree or disagree with me with no problem. I will try to put my feedback at your service as I'm doing with my students. And yeah, Federica, I know the graphic is I loved it even from the stills in the site that you linked me, so I'm glad that you like it as well. And yeah, what can you say? It's majestic. Look at that. It's and plus, I think it really mixed well with the music for the countdown. I just discovered some non-copyright music on YouTube and put them. And I was thinking maybe to have also some music during the live, but I think that could be annoying, even if it's low volume. I don't like when you see the live and there's a kind of uh, there is too much going on, graphics and lights and glowing, and then music as well. So yeah, I will try to contain the aesthetic just on the graphic for the moment. And what else? Yeah. Well, yeah. I think that it impressed me um, on The Last of Us 2, just because I was talking about it, and is the sense of depth that you have in the sets. You really feel that the sets are something huge and bigger than you can imagine, and even and the beauty is that they can skip from very large scale sets to claustrophobic atmosphere. There is some part with no spoiler. I will not do spoiler of any type, but it's not a spoiler to say that there are really vast sets with really huge panoramic landscape, and then you have to hide yourself, or you have to pass through claustrophobic and kind of ruined and wasted buildings or whatever it is. So they started did this kind of mixing even with Uncharted. I remember in Uncharted 2 there was this scene where you woke up in a train wagon, and then you discover that the train wagon is basically upside down, and you are only um, alive and holded by a seatbelt. And it's incredible. It was incredible at the time for PlayStation 3 to do such a really well thinked um, scene and atmosphere, and it's more and more enjoyable and um, constructed even now. I'm really looking forward to what can do the PlayStation 5 engine and the PlayStation 5 basically new generation of game, because looks like we will have such incredible trip in video games in the next year. Because I remind you, if you don't know, that the PlayStation 5 will be out, I think, this December, and across the end of the year the new one, so basically it should be out. And of course, playing The Last of Us on PlayStation 4, you cannot tell yourself how they did it, how they built such an incredible game with the engine and with the technology that PlayStation 4 have, which is pretty old and outdated if we compare it, for example, to the medium high perform PC. And of course, the answer is I don't know. They did it. Somehow they did it. And okay, you know what? I will stop there. This kind of wiggly wobbly boobala doobala sketch. We'll hold on, create a group for later. Be a good person and naming the group like sketch. I will create a new one and I will show you the first portfolio, which is from Anna. And here we go, showing the pages right now is from Anna Puppo. Here we are. She's a colorist, as she told me. On the moment, I don't see the live and you don't see the live because I prefer to show you the work. I don't see the chat, so you know what? I will just, okay, give me 1 second to calibrate the live a bit more like this. Okay, yeah, perfect. Sorry for the bad quality images. Let's see if I can reduce a bit more. Yeah, so the chat is there for you to see and for me as well. Okay, so Anna, as I was saying, is a colorist. I don't know much about the career and the professional side, so I will just keep I will keep my feedback mainly on what I'm looking at. I will not go in general thought about it. And so we can see there is a sort of general focus on the readable and smooth atmosphere. Correct me if I'm wrong, Anna. I don't want to say anything wrong. The draw are not yours, if I understand. You are the colorist on these pages. Feel free to write in the chat and I will read whatever you say to correct me. And let's see. I will take 1 minute in silence just to see it. It's what I usually do with my student. I always don't speak for minutes. In the live, it's not good. I will keep just 1 minute maybe to see the images with you and go for a quick look at them. Okay. Okay, that's it. Okay, so what I guess is that your focus, Anna, is basically on the American market, and because I can see the use of the pages, the use of the blacks, the ink, it's pretty much common to the American market. Like this one could be a page from any superhero comic. This one, of course, it's a bit more Asian manga style. And a mix between American and probably something from French bande dessinée in the type of colors. Um, Even if this page is like structured more in an American way than the French one. Okay. Definitely, what I can say from looking this is that you have a good sense of atmosphere, a good sense of tones, and in general, there is a good separation between characters and environments. Sometimes this separation is on my for what I used to do, which is animation and concepts, it's a bit strong. I tend to blend a bit more characters and environments and giving a bit more influence on the character coming from the sets. But again, it's something that I do because of my job. I cannot say that here is lacking or is missing, because maybe this was the request from your commissioner, your studio you worked in, I don't know. And what I can do is to take, for example, one of these images, one of these sets, and explain a little bit better what I mean. Let's see which is the best to make. Okay, probably this one with the bridge could be nice, because there is a bit more depth to explain what I mean. Let me think. Yeah, I will screen grab furiously your image and drag in Photoshop, so don't mind me doing weird things. Okay. Put this on Photoshop. The quality will be, of course, a bit low, so the result on my Photoshop will not be the best. Okay, so let's close this and come back to the live. Hello. Okay, so what I will try to say, and I will also write here that Anna's artwork. So whoever will enter the live will know for sure that it's something from another artist. And I will keep this one for later, to do the before and after. Okay, and I will copy another one just because I want to explain what I do in general when it comes to sets, to understand if the lights and the values are properly blended and mixed. So first thing is, in every scene with establishment shot, which is this one is establishment shot is when you have a camera positioned in a very good position to cover a huge amount of space. And usually the establishment shot is the one at the beginning, for example, of a movie, or at the beginning of a new scene, a change of sets. For example, in The Last of the Mohicans, because it's one of my favorite establishment shots in movies, you have the forests, the nature and the mountains from far away, and the establishment shot is telling you basically where you are, and it's telling that you have this kind of wild nature surrounding you. So the establishment shot, it's always the key frame and what I call it's basically the picture that always tell you the context. And when you have this kind of scene, this kind of landscape, what you have to ask to yourself is, what should I see? Where the attention should go? To do this and to check if you are doing correctly, what I used to do is to put the image in black and white, because the black and white, it's always telling you the truth about tones and the depth. So what I see from here is basically that there is a bit of lack of diffusion, aerial diffusion. If you see the tone of this vegetation and foliage, it's pretty much the same of the bridge. And then, for example, the brightest part is over here. So according to what we want to do in this scene, because I don't know where the sun is, looks like the sun is over there, because it's the most yellow, the most brighter color in the sky. So I presume the sun is basically going down over the building. For this reason, what we should have, can you increase your mic? It's very low. Yeah, no problem. I also put a little bit close. Let me see. Check, check, check. Microphone. Okay, I see that it's basically orange in the bar, so it should be a bit more. You should hear me a bit more clear. Okay. So what I was saying is, if the sun is coming from here, we should have basically the opposite. I mean, this building are against the sun, so we should see them with shadows, and we should see them against the source of light. And also means that this part of the bridge is doing correctly, because it's really dark. So the first thing I was saying, always check with your after you put your flat and your first kind of shadowing and light, always go check with black and white if what you want to do is correctly placed. Again, also, for example, there is no big difference between the tone of the river and, as again, the tone of the sides of the river. So what I can see from here is that pretty much everything is on the same tone in this area. If we scroll basically like this, you can see that there is some change, of course, but it's not so structured as it should be. Then, okay, I can understand that maybe you received this inked, so you already had the blacks. So I will not tell you nothing about the blacks, because if you are just the, not just, forgive me, if you are the colorist on this page, I can understand that you received the file with all the blacks and the inks. So I will skip on this. What I will do now is a general bright. I will pump a little bit the brightness, just in order to work a little bit better with the values, because we need to go a bit more dark in some areas, so I need to brighten everything up. And okay. You're welcome, Anna. Again, if I'm saying something that you don't agree, or you think you did good, feel free to stop me. I will check the chat once in a while. Okay, so what I was saying is, I suppose this is a dusk more than a dawn. So probably for a dusk set, we will need a bit more of a punch in the orange. I will try with the fusion method color. I don't do every time the same kind of fix. I don't use always the same scheme, because every picture, every fix to do is different. For example, in Brown Bag, I receive different pieces from different artists, and every one of them have is way to work and is way to reach a lighting keys or whatever it is, the piece I'm looking at. So I change this according to what I have in the page. So what I was saying is, I will increase, of course, with this in mind, with the pressure, I will increase a bit more the yellowish and the orange here and there at the bottom, in order that if we want to point that approximate in this area there is the sun, we can go a bit more yellow. But to do this, we need to build the sun influence, more than having just one single tone in all the sky. So even from here, see, it could be nice to have, coming out from this two structure, a bit more of atmosphere. So the first thing is this one. I try to bright everything up. Maybe reducing, okay, this way should be good. Then, as I was saying, now forgive me, Anna, and forgive me all of you, I will be a little brutal. I mean, I don't have the time to make it like a proper lasso selection, so I will just basically do roughly the fix. Even because I hate making selection with lasso. It's like my kryptonite. I really don't like it. Okay, so okay, I will proceed as I said in the terms that the light source is behind the city. So I will not have this influence here. Otherwise, we will need to change the whole lighting system, because if the city needs to be so bright, that means that the bridge needs to be even bright, because the sun is coming from the right of the screen. So unless we want to change the whole light structure, I will do the opposite. We will see what's going on. Probably after the fix I will discover that it's not the case, but I will try to do it this way. Okay, let's see what is the best approach in terms of fusion methods. Let's try with multiply, baby. Okay. I'll try first with the multiply, and then don't be scared. I always do strong pass in the beginning, and then I adjust later. But I need to see how the things are going in a strong way before be gently. Okay. Then the second thing is the river. So now the river, what we know about the river is that we need influence from the sky, and the influence from the sky here is not it's not given the way I will do. Okay, I try to isolate these palms, so as I said, forgive me for the lasso roughness. Okay. The river in the middle of this image is a good opportunity to break the routine of the values. For example, if we take this color here and we apply the color on the top part of the river, we can see how nicely is breaking the routine basically. And then you go back to your natural tone of the sky, because a water surface always will be like a mirror. So what's up will be down, and then you can play. When you do it properly, you can take your clouds and put the clouds over here as well. I will do manually because I don't want to waste too much time on finesse. But then what you can do is to play a little bit with the water and give the proper kind of reflection. And of course you can also do the same for the side of the river here. The city is it's so far that probably it's not casting any long reflection as this part, which is more close to the water surface. And then of course you have the river as well, the bridge as well. So. Now what I will do again is really rough. I will try to do, you can select when you want to do it properly, you can select the bridge and do it basically the same way. So you can see the river is a good opportunity to break a bit the routine. on the scene and having this kind of midfield where you are telling the observer that you have the first layer, the first plan, you have the second one, and you have the third one. So now let's go work a bit more on the first plan, which is another point that we need to take care of. Once again, we are really far away from the source of light. So what we will do is to again have a bit of multiply with this color here, just a little bit toned down, and having it really, even the palms over here, really dark. Okay. Again, now everything is strong, so don't mind the strongness of my fixing so far, because as I said, I need to see before to be gentle. I need to see how things can work. And in my case, there is no way, no other way to see stuff by being a bit more rude. Okay. And the same goes for these pillars over here. There is a source of light which is coming a bit from nowhere in this case. Okay. Rude enough. Now I can start blending and giving the atmosphere a bit more. When you have a serious distance between surfaces and between layers and planes, like in this case we have 1, 2, and this is the third plane in my mental subdivision. When you have this, you have a strong influence from the sky. I mean, Leonardo da Vinci said this basically a bit earlier than me today. I'm only coming like 500 years later. But what we need to do is trying to blend this dark area that is against the source of light and having it integrated a bit more with the sky. And you can see that basically all of my rudeness in the beginning will be a bit more blended with the diffusion, with the aerial diffusion. But it will stay strong and dark than before. You can see. Basically, what happened physically is that the air and the oxygen particle are catching lights every time. Every bouncing lights in the atmosphere is catched by the particle. And when more is the distance and more this catching of bouncing light is strong, and you see, for example, in a photography or even outside your windows, that everything going in the distance is slightly fading according to the distance. So the more you are going further and forward, and the more this influence from the sky and atmosphere, it's coloring what you have in the distance as a plan. What can we do here is also play a bit more with the three-dimensionality of your building and try to see if something of this building can catch a bit of light. And instead of having the blacks, you will have an opportunity to give a bit more light. It's really subtle. It's something that when you put in the distance you will see, but it's just adding a little extra separation between the plants. And what you can do also is, again, I'm treating it like what I will do at work. I know that in comics, if you have the ink, you should keep the ink. So don't mind that I'm passing through the ink. It's just for the sake of the explanation, basically. For example, some light can filter a bit on these trees because it's basically coming somehow through the buildings and palace, and you can have here and there. It's not a rim light, it's more like a sort of hint of light. And then again, blend. Then you can add a reflex here because this is a bit more close to the water surface. Okay. And the same goes here, basically. Okay. So now you starting to see the difference and the distance between the different layers. And also the atmosphere is acquiring a bit more depth and blending. Okay. Okay. Now, coming back to the first plan again, we can have a bit of separation between this building, which is literally not catching any light, and this area, which is on the ground level. I will try to be really soft in the beginning. Okay, and then maybe some shadows over here. And if we want to fake a bit, just for the sake of being a little more interesting, we can have a hint of light on this part of the building. And then again, a bit more here. And we will blend like this. So we can return and see it a bit more closely, a bit more in entirely. I was looking for that. That's the word, entirely, and see if you can catch the different planes. You can clearly see that now we have one, then the bridge, and then something a bit more distant, which is the city. Okay, cool. Let me save. I didn't save in, I don't know, 20 minutes. Let me read the chat if I have no way to change the drum. Yeah, okay. Can I ask something to Anna? Of course. Okay, no. Perfect. Okay, after this, what I'll do is to go a little bit forward in the blending as well. And for example, creating a new layer and having a mask. And I'll go for a first color balance just to see how I can increase the atmosphere. Because now everything is there, but it's still not popping out the way I would like to. So for example, in a dusk, we surely have to increase the reds. With a touch of the yellow. We are the first color balance in the midtones means, for midtones, what it means is that it will transform every color in this area basically in the midtones. So when you have the color in this spectrum with the color balance, you will increase or decrease saturation and intensity. With the shadows is the darker side, the Sith side, and with the highlights is the Jedi. So shadows. The shadows, I will say that we need a bit more of blue, just because we have a lot of shadows here that needs a sort of tint from the sky. So I will push a bit the blue. And on the highlights, which means the brightest part of the spectrum, I would increase the orange, so a bit the red and the yellow as well. Okay, just like this. So with this in mind, for example, there is something I missed here, which could be interesting to have a bit more of interruption. Over here. Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, let's see where we are with the balancing so far. So see, the main intention with this fixing was just about the increasing the communication and the atmosphere basically. So increasing the difference between such a powerful sky, which is the dusk one, and the fact that you have the water as a reflective surface and some building which is covering your source of light. So you can see it's not just about epicness or power in terms of brightness. It's not enough to increase the vibrance or the saturation. It's not that playing with the bars will give you a better result if the starting point it's not considering the different tones of the values according the distance. So what I recommend to you is to I will start from the beginning. What I say to my students, and they can confirm in chat if it's useful or not, is basically that I always recommend people who don't have, for example, fine arts background like me. I never did oil painting. I never did any kind of class of coloring in school. So I started directly in digital, which was a pain because it was also the 2010 where was quite difficult to find tutorials on YouTube or people like me talking on platform like Twitch, sharing knowledge. So for the first 2 or 3 years, what I did was wandering around trying to figure it out how to solve the many problems I had with constructing my my skills set. And what I did was to start from the grayscale, which can sound a little bit annoying for some people because the grayscale is not the colors, but for the understanding of the difference between the different planes, the different layers, and if you don't have a painting background, a materic painting background, I found it really helpful to understand how I can improve the distance between things in a set or even in the character as well. Like, for example, giving this light that I have in my room, you can see part of my face is eating. I basically, luckily enough, the bold people are a perfect example of how the light reacts because I'm pretty much the the live example of the shader ball. You can see the light. You can see basically, okay, I have to revert. You can see the maximum point of hitting, which is the highlights, which is the things that we played with the bar before. And then you can see how things is diffusing over my head, how light is diffusing and revealing my skin tone. Then on the other side, you have the main shadow, the core of the shadows, basically. And then going slightly on the edge of my face, you can see that you will reach the point of maximum shadows. So, stupid example apart, what I mean is if you step back in your studies with the grayscale for a while just to improve how to differentiate the different planes, you can have benefits, and then coming back in the color will be a bit more easy to understand if you are missing something in your light composition. And then I will stop here because I can continue for hours, but I would like to stop here because it's what I have to say is pretty much here. The rest is finesse, the rest is going and make it better and better and better. But the essence of what I was trying to say with this piece is basically here. I hope you found it helpful, and I hope that you guys found it helpful as well. Okay. I will close this, making another group, which is the Annas. Okay. The second person that basically sent me, I will show you again the page. Okay, let me see. Yeah, you see it. Perfect. The second person is Sarah. I don't know if Sarah, are you in the chat? If so, just let me know. And Sarah, for what I understand, is an illustrator for kids book. Mostly the focus is on kids book and illustration for kids, which is really one of my favorite part of the illustration. And what I can say, your work is beautiful. I found really, really beautiful your character design and your taste for colors, and the fact that is reminding the, I don't know, are they traditional? Because I don't want to make mistakes, because now with Photoshop you can do basically a fake handmade artwork like nothing. So confirm if you are using I don't know, watercolors or pencil, because sometimes it's hard to judge. But as I was saying, everything is pretty much there for what I will look from a kids book illustrator. The first is acrylic, the second pencil, coloring in digital. Okay, cool, thanks. The fact with these two people today that present me their work is that they are a bit out of my focus field and my usually way to work and to see the other people works. So everything I say today, it's more for the coloring approach, the crossing approach, not the only way, but I'm not comfortable in say anything to you about traditional painting, because my own, I don't do this stuff my own, so there is nothing really specific I could say, because I know that this is the kind of works that are going into the kids book, because I did some kids book myself with Mondadori. I was working on 4 books for Mondadori Kids, Mondadori Ragazzi, and they were 4 adventure book, and I did the internal illustration, which were in black and white, and the 4 covers back and front. And my approach in the covers was pretty much yours. So I don't feel I can tell you something to improve, not because you cannot improve, but because that's the type of work that I always see in kids' book. So for example, I was looking this and I was saying to myself, maybe I can explain the same thing I explained to Anna with the blending, with the distance, but that's the way probably it needs to be for a book. Because if this page was a concept, I will say, okay, probably we need to integrate a bit more the characters into the environments and to differentiate a bit more this area to this and to this. But I know for my experience that it's something not always necessary in books illustration. Uh, I am in difficult. What I will do is for you, Sarah, if you have something specific you want to ask or something that you are thinking about to improve, I can try to fulfill this request, because otherwise, for example, if I take this, I can say so many things about the color influence from the environment, but probably it's not the meaning of of the illustration, because everything in this type of product needs to be clear, needs to be readable. So once again, I don't know. I really don't know. On the character design, for example, I really like this. I really like the way you did this anthropomorphic animal, or this kind of fairy tale character, or this one. But again, everything is so smooth, it's so simple that I don't think it requests any adjustment. I will make an example just to oops, sorry, I need to screen capture this one. I will just make you an example of what I will do, but on a personal taste, not on a way that I'm feeling I need to teach you something. Okay. Control C, Control. Okay. Let's hide this. So again, if you have something specific you want to ask, feel free to do it. Otherwise, I will try to spend a little bit of time on this character. From my point of view, which is more close to the animation point of view than the illustrated book. So what I see here is that the character is a bit stiff in the movement. Proportion wise, I will not touch anything because could be the client request, so it's what it is. And plus I don't even know what kind of creature this one is. It reminds me of a frog with some elements from a crocodile, and then something like a bat a pair of ears. And what I will do in this one is trying to push a bit more the emphasis on the gesture and the acting. Let me read the Sarah comment. Okay. Okay. So basically, Sarah is saying that these works are studies, personal studies, and that she's trying to learn and to improve in the coloring and in the character design, which is good. So what I will say is to improve the acting, and for make it I will suggest you to go, there is a site I will write in the chat, Screen Caps Animation. Basically on Screen Caps Animation you have frame by frame a lot of feature film and movies, and that's the place where I take the references for learn how to properly illuminate and coloring the character, but as well to improve sometimes also the gesture, because you can stop, no, you cannot even, it's already separated in frames, so you can select the framing, for example, on a running and a sequence, or on a jumping, or a kiss and a hug, everything, and you can see basically directly on 3D model the behavior of the body. So for example, let's say that this creature is going on his trip in the forest. I will try to emphasize, for example, the type of walk. We can see that he have this massive bag, but it looks really calm. The solution is that the bag is empty or is incredibly strong. So what I will do is to exaggerate the type of gesture, the type of walk according to this element. And what I will do is to bend a little bit more the character. And try to make him walk a bit more believable. Because now we can see that the legs are quite parallel, more than going forward and backward. So, for example, one leg can go this way, like really strongly, and the other one can be partially hide. From the body itself. Then maybe one hand can go on the strip and the other one can go on the stick. Maybe also trying to show the elbow. It's always good, instead of just having this. If you can show the elbow part, it's always a nice solution to explain a bit more the movements of the arms. And then for this bag, I can also exaggerate a bit more the proportion, because now what we can see is that the proportion between the body and the bag are pretty much 50-50. I mean, it's a slightly visible the body as well, but in terms of proportion you can see there is a box between the body and the bag. So what I will do is to exaggerate a bit more this proportion here. So you can show the, even if you don't do the face in pain, the face in struggle, you can still have the smile, you can still have the pacific expression, but the body is telling that this bag is pretty heavy and he needs to bend the spine in order to support the weight. The character is always the same, but the way you are telling is walking, it makes the difference. It's a bit more communication friendly. There is a bit more communication in this way. And this goes for this character here. So literally what I will do is this. Let me see the second image. Let's go back again. You were telling about the, okay, the images with the two young girl, Anna. Okay, I will take it. Cool. No. Copy paste the same. Just a moment. Need to do again the screenshot. Cool. Hide again. Okay, cool. Here we go. So for example, in this one, what I will do, it's already working for the purpose of a kid's book. So what I say now, it goes more for the same kind of suggestion I did with Anna, basically. Let's take this again. And you can see that the image is pretty clear. It's so clear that you don't have any kind of point of interest in the image, because everything is on the same level in terms of saturation and coloring. So what I will do again is to putting it on black and white and see where I want to put my attention. Okay, the two girls are obviously the main focus, but what about two, for example, I will do it even in the grayscale. What about also to fade a bit more what we have in the background? Let me no, I will do this. basically creating a preparation for the background to fill the interest area. So see, trying to basically framing the characters a bit more in a sort of sequence of values going from dark to bright. So the difference is not that much, but still it can help you to catch the attention in specific area even more. Because of course the good thing about this image is that it's so close up that it's impossible to lose the attention from the two girls, because they are basically in front of the camera. But still, there is something in the values we can do to improve the communication. For example, playing a little bit more with the depth of the bushes, with the 3 dimension of the bushes as well, and trying to be a little bit more specific in the areas where the lights is doing the blending, like in this case. Okay, probably we will need a bit more of shadow on the bottom part here. So for example, this gesture here between the two girls is what I will reckon as the focal point of the communication in this scene. So I would like to emphasize this by putting the hands, which are candid white, and against a darker background in this area. So I would increase the darkness around the, just because even the bush is basically going down on this part. So what we need to do is to playing, I will need to do in normal, because otherwise I cannot transform it. Okay. Let's take a proper brush So what I would like to do is to make the hands emerge from the darker background. So now our attention is catched by the girls, but as a central focus we have directly the hands. See what I mean? Now you can see the atmosphere attaching to the different elements in the scene and transforming the depth and inform you as observer what's going on in terms of distance. Even in such of a short distance we could play a little bit with the intensity. As a designer, as illustrators, as artists, we need to pay attention to reality, of course, but for some specific key lights or moments we can always push a bit and fake it to reach what we want in terms of communication. And plus, in a forest where everything is wild and savage, we need to explain with values what's going on, because otherwise we'll be like a giant foliage mess. So how to apply these things in the colors now? I will copy this layer here, just because I did a lot of lasso selection. Come on. Okay. And I basically applying a soft light lever on this layer on this, which is going basically in the direction I want. But I will transform with the color overlay from black that I used for the grayscale into something more close to the blue. Normal, rasterize, and then soft light. Okay, perfect. We'll copy this and have it like with a 8 or 10% in multiply, just to make it a bit more stronger. And I copy, ouch, and I copy this. Okay. And I will go basically again, forgive me for the lasso rudeness, but I will go directly in coloring right now. Okay, good. So I will try to use this brush, which is a chalk brush, to match what you did with your work. So what I will do is basically, as I said, trying to put the attention to the hands, not to the background of the hands. because otherwise was a bit more like a magic happening between the hands, which I don't know if it's part of the story. Maybe it is, and I'm basically ruining your story. Then I took this brush to do a little bit of foliage on the top. And again, I really like do forests and foliage. I found it relaxing, and so it's always something I never skip. It's like leg day on gym. You never skip leg day. So the same goes for me. I never skip the foliage. Now, what I would like to be sure you understand is that every elements when you have environments like this needs to basically follow a sort of blending rule, just to give it a bit more context. Okay, so we have this stone here, and in order to make sure that the other part of the foliage of the bush is clear enough, we need to go back again to something darker. In this way, you are 100% sure that everyone can understand that there is a different bush over there, that it's not the same bush. So you need to do this kind of motif. Okay, the same goes here. Basically, what I do when it comes to forest is to play with this behavior. So you can see the intricate kind of system of foliage going around. But you know what? I will try also to give a bit more of color in this zone here, a bit more of sky color. Because your atmosphere is so full of sun that I don't think you will see basically a grayish sky. Then we can have an hint, a suggestion of sky becoming a little more blue. Okay. And this last part of the foliage, I will try to blend it a bit more with the color of the sky, just to distantiate a bit more, to let understand the people that there is a bit of distance between that and the other side. So now that I have a palette, I just took the color from what I have here and there. Um, okay, cool. Probably another thing I would like to add is a bit more of gradient between the upper part and the bottom one. So with a bit of soft light, what I will do is to have a bit more influence from the warm atmosphere coming from the sky. Oops. You can see it's more sunny, it's more, the sun is feeling the vegetation here and there, and then on the bottom we can have a bit more of bluish atmosphere, especially in the shadow. Now I don't do again the lasso, but you can understand as well what I mean. The lasso, I say the lasso. So see, it's basically going up in terms of values. We need to elevate the background in terms of what's is influenced from above and what is influenced from below. And the same goes, for example, in the dark areas of the characters, so to be a little bit more influenced by the blue and the shadow. For example, in this zone, or under the hat. One. Again, forgive me for the bad lasso. And then having like this. To be more specific, what I will do is to create a bit more of shadow. Now I will be a bit rude and then I will tone down accordingly, but now I need to be a bit rude to see the difference. Okay, probably like this could be enough. See, basically now you can see the influence on the hat. But again, what I would like to say is that I'm just talking about general lights and shadows behavior, which it's not the ideal, for example, for the illustration books. So a lot of this doesn't are not necessary for the illustration books. But I will say that as well. For example, all of this, the hat is really, it should at least cast a big shadow on the shoulder, because for what I understand, that the sun is really up and above their heads, so I don't see any other solution that make the shadow a bit stronger in here. Then delete. Oops, too strong. Yep. Also because, to be honest, with such a source of light above their heads, their faces should be really dark with this type of hats. But it's not what we want. Probably it's just gently doing this. And then again here, for example. Okay, this is really a shadow caster. Cool. And then maybe we can also have some rim light from above. Like this, framing the hat. Maybe going on the shoulder. And catching the attention on the hands, for example. Then I will show you what I do to create the shadows from the foliage. It's pretty simple. Let me take the right brush. Okay. Okay. I will take the color from here, which is the most dark. No, probably this one is the darker. Yes. I will take the color from there, and what I'll do is to basically really aggressive giving the foliage shadows. You have to imagine you have the branches on the, just, you can also recreate sometime. I don't recreate the full branch, but if you want, you can just give yourself a guide. Then just go really brutal. Okay. Now we need to soft, because I used a really sharp brush. So what we need to do is to blur. I don't do it with the brush, with the blur brush. I do with the filter blur. I use the Gaussian blur because it gives you the ability to see what are you doing. Let's suppose, and the more the tree is up and less stronger is the shadow. So for example, if you have a foliage up here, the casted shadow will be really, really strong. But if the tree is like 4 meters up from your head, the shadow is reducing the power. So they are even sit. So what I will do is to don't go, for example, here, even because it's disturbing, but go, for example, something like this. And I also like to add a bit of motion blur. Just to give an extra difference. And instead of normal, I will try or color or overlay or multiply, something like this, and then reducing to the point you want. For example, I don't want them to be in this type of illustration. I will not go for something stronger than this. And then you can do the reverse with the lights as well. So it's just an extra hint. Then of course you should mask. I didn't mask because I don't have the character on a separate layer. And then you just eliminate the difference. For example, even this zone here should really be in shadow. I didn't select it before, but okay, let's go here, I think. Cool. Okay. So yeah, I will stop here just because I'm talking from a very long time. Another thing, the last thing is to color balance the image. I did not balance it yet. So Control B. Yeah, not Control B. So this one, color balance, and there we go. So what we have in the midtones, for sure, we need to increase a bit the reds and the yellow. In the shadows, I would increase the blue, and in the highlights, the yellow again and a bit of cyan. So that's it. I can continue for hours and adding a lot of complexity and a lot of different things, but I will stay as I am here, where I am, even because I'm so tired that my English is becoming a sort of different language. But that's it. So even for you, what I will suggest is to explore and improve a little bit more in the communication with colors, not only um, the academic point of view. So increase the communication is basically increasing the communication means that you can start even from the grayscale to set your sketches and try to do thumbnails to see where do you want the attention, if every layer is readable and it's not completely going lost. And when it comes to the color, always try to improve blending, because the blending in the grayscale, in the tones, in the values and the depth is different from the blending of the colors. Blending the colors means that if you are in a forest, in a wood, you surely will have some influence from the light, from the color of the light, and from the surrounding foliage around you. So you need a bit of green, you need blue, you need some colors that is in the set to blend the characters. Blending in the grayscale, it means that if you, for example, have something in foreground and something far away, your point of view, you cannot have the same tone values, but you need to lose values the more you are going far from your point of view. Or even reverse, because not always the point where the camera is the darkest. It can happen, for example, that you are looking the scene just below a source of light, and the more you are going forward, you are losing light because there is no other source of light. For example, if you are in a tunnel and the only light in the tunnel is coming from above your head, you will have a sort of cone of light surrounding you, and then the dispersion and the darkness going forward. Or also, if you are in an open field and, for example, you have the sun hitting the particular spot and the particular space where you are in, you have that your point of view is the brightest part of the set, and moving forward everything is losing consistency. So that's it. There is a lot of things I could have, like the blush on the face, everything, but it's really not necessary on this piece here. It's something that was already working this way. What I did is to try to make a different approach of lighting. So yeah, I will say that today I talked more on the narrative use of the lights and colors and the difference between the layers than the true approach, because there is no true approach. Everyone can have his own approach and completely works. What I tried to do here was just to showing a bit what you can do with lights and colors. So guys, I've been talking from 2 hours, jeez, and I will do this. If you have any questions, I will stay for another 5 minutes, just the time to answer them. If not, I will say goodbye straight away. So go on with the question if you have it. I need to grab a water bottle next time. No questions. Whew. It's a relief somehow because I'm really tired. I worked 8 hours and then I spent another 2 basically working, but with absolute pleasure. So next time I hope I will have some people more close to what I do, just because I can talk more in depth instead of doing rounds. I really hope, guys, you enjoyed the live, you enjoyed the talk, and I'm also hope that you guys like the new graphic, because it cost me 30 euros. So I really hope so. No, I like the graphic, so no matter what people think, I like it. Next time will be next Sunday with another guest, and I bet you will like the guest. Yeah, I know the graphic is sober. Sober, it's the right word. And the next live will be on Sunday morning at 10:30 Dublin time, which means 11:30 Italy time, and I don't know the other countries. You can go check. And that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I wish you a really nice evening, and see you next time.